This is Monday, January 12, 2026. I'm Tomlyn Nicholson. President Trump is considering various options against Iran in response to the regime's crackdown on protesters, which has reportedly resulted in over 500 deaths as demonstrations enter their second week. U.S. officials have presented plans ranging from military strikes to non-military measures, with no final decision yet amid calls for support of the Iranian people's push for freedom. In Minneapolis, chaos erupts as anti-ICE protests intensify following an officer's shooting of a suspect who allegedly tried to run him over with a vehicle. Schools have closed and demonstrators have stormed a hotel, forcing police to retreat, with calls mounting for National Guard to restore order amid rising violence. Breaking news out of Syria, where U.S. forces have conducted airstrikes targeting ISIS positions, with officials confirming the operation aimed to eliminate key terrorist threats amid ongoing regional instability. This comes as special envoys meet with new Syrian leadership, signaling a push to curb extremism in the area. Vice President Vance has unveiled a multi-state fraud task force in response to the deepening Minnesota scandal, where audits reveal document fabrication and cover-ups in government programs. This initiative targets widespread abuse, with investigators expanding to linked financial institutions. A staggering $1.2 billion health fraud scheme in New York has been uncovered, described as 10 times worse than Minnesota's issues involving elaborate networks siphoning public funds. Authorities are pursuing charges against those responsible for the massive theft. The Trump administration is deploying hundreds more federal agents to Minnesota as part of an ongoing investigation into alleged corruption in state social programs, following a fatal ICE shooting that sparked protests. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem stated the move aims to uncover systematic fraud, while local officials prepare for potential National Guard involvement amid rising tensions. Federal charges have been filed against aliens accused of illegally voting in U.S. elections and falsifying citizenship applications, highlighting vulnerabilities in the system. This case underscores ongoing concerns about election integrity. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell revealed the Department of Justice has issued subpoenas threatening criminal charges over his Senate testimony on interest rates, viewing it as pressure to align with presidential preferences. Powell emphasized the Fed's independence in monetary policy decisions based on public interest, not political demands. Latest trade deficit figures have stunned economists, with numbers far exceeding expectations and prompting visible shock on financial networks. Analysts warn of implications for economic policy moving forward. The Venezuelan interim government began releasing political prisoners as a gesture towards national unity after Maduro's capture, with initial freeze including opposition figures amid plans to close notorious detention centers. Human rights groups welcome the move, but urge faster action and transparency for the estimated 800 detainees. The Department of Homeland Security is condemning sanctuary politicians for fueling an unprecedented rise in assaults on ICE agents, linking radical rhetoric to recent attacks. Media misrepresentation of incidents, like portraying suspects as innocent, has drawn sharp criticism from administration officials. Treasury officials are probing multi-money service businesses in Minnesota for wiring funds overseas potentially tied to fraud networks, with IRS criminal investigators leading the charge. Enhanced surveillance is now in place to track suspicious transfers. Following the ouster of Nicolas Maduro, President Trump warned Cuba to make a deal soon, stating the U.S. will prevent Venezuelan oil and funds from reaching the island nation. The administration emphasized enforcing distance between the countries as diplomats work on regional stability post-capture. Secret Service agents discovered a suspicious object at Palm Beach International Airport, prompting adjustments to President Trump's motorcade before his departure to Washington, D.C. aboard Air Force One. Officials confirmed the president's safety, with investigations ongoing into the incident. President Trump reiterated U.S. intentions to acquire Greenland during a meeting with oil executives, asserting action may be taken regardless of Denmark's stance to counter Russian and Chinese influence. The proposal has drawn concerns from allies like Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who advocates for NATO's role in the Arctic.